Hello on the Rockers. Thank you for being a friend. On this episode, we are celebrating the recent 40th anniversary of the Golden Girls. 40 years? How can it be 40 years? I'm not even over 28. We're celebrating in style with two-time Emmy winner and three-time Golden Globe winner producer on the Golden Girls, Marsha Posner Williams, and season 1 writer Stan Zimmerman, not an Emmy winner or Golden Globe winner. Interesting. Okay.
Ouch.
We are gonna spill the vodka with behind-the-scenes stories of this iconic show with my co-host, model musician Steven Dehler, and me, your sassy host with the sassy most. Buttons and bows and pantyhose on the Rocks podcast.
The place where too glam to give a damn. Raise a glass.
It's on the Rocks.
Hey.
Thank you for being.
Life is a banquet, and most poor suckers are starving to death.
I'd like to propose a toast.
This is On the Rocks with Alexander, where I drink with your favorite celebrities as we talk about fashion, entertainment, pop culture, reality TV, and, well, that's about it. So pop a cork, lean back, and raise a glass to On the Rocks.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Oh, it's going to be a bumpy night indeed. Welcome to the show. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at On The Rocks On Air and on Facebook, On The Rocks Radio Show. Send us an email. Book us for a pride, wedding, funeral, quinceanera, bris. I don't care. We'll show up.
I care a little bit.
Email us at info@ontherocksradioshow.com. Also send us your comments, your guest requests, and your guest questions.
Yep, this show is presented by Straw Hut Media. You can watch and or listen to every one of our over 400 episodes. It's ontherocksradioshow.com, YouTube, Facebook Watch, and I Love Gay LGBTQ, and Bear World Magazine. Rawr. All right, let's see this.
All right, for like you young kids, Golden Girls is still happening. Why is the show still so popular with us gays?
Well, I mean, in general, the comedy writing is timeless and ageless. You know,
You're welcome.
obviously.
Ageless.
Well, when I say ageless, I mean it could be 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70.
And the
It's going
jokes
to be,
are
it's
still
going to be,
snapping.
yeah, it's going to be funny. It's relevant. I mean, but the gay community, they're a found family. You know, this resonates with our community, of course. And, you know, it's progressive. You're seeing these, you know, older women that are, a lot of the topics were progressive topics and their takes were progressive. So.
Sex. They talk about sex a lot.
A lot of it.
Like we gays do.
You know, we.
So I watched Golden Girls like in my original, when I was little
In your
boy.
original, what's that even mean? I mean, your original form when I was a child.
When it was originally on TV.
In
Yeah.
the womb?
In the room. I was but a fetus.
You're hearing it too, yeah.
But my mom and grandma were like, why are you watching these old women? My grandma was like, no, she didn't want to watch it because she didn't want to feel old. And my mom didn't watch it, so I would sit there by myself and watch it.
I mean, also the amazing cast, you know.
Yeah. But then I watched it again in reruns with my first long-term boyfriend, and we watched it every single night, falling asleep, and the credits would end.
Yep.
Marsha Posner Williams, and that's what I was like, oh my god. But then my mom, she watched it in her very final years because it was so comforting to her. So it was so funny that she got into it after I was already like, oh, I've seen it, whatever. And
Right.
she was religious about it. She knew more of the trivia than I did. But by the time she had finished the series,
I love that.
Wow.
I love that.
yeah, so it's multi-generational.
It is.
All right, let's welcome our star-studded guests, the divas of the hour, besides us, I mean. Marsha Posner Williams, with about 400 episodes of network television to her credit. The talents of Marsha Posner Williams have garnered her 2 Primetime Emmy Awards and 3 Golden Globes. Marsha's most notable series include The Golden Girls, Soap, Benson, Hail to the Chief, Amen, and Night Court. These major hit series provided a track record of excellence covering all areas of production. She also produced information and training videos as well as public announcements for many different departments of the United States government, which we're going to dive into because there's some interesting factoids there. Other agencies supported by Williams produced projects include motivational films for the U.S. Treasury Department in support of the sales of U.S. savings bonds. Remember those? Videos for the FAA and preservation films for the Bureau of Land Management, and a promotional short for education outreach using young African-American youth at risk of HIV and AIDS. Independent productions have rounded out her career, and she co-authored a humor book called How to Get Even with Your Ex. I need to read that again. And produced 7 personal fitness videos. God, I need to watch these too. Learning yoga and Pilates, as well as 4 short films. Having worked in the entertainment industry for over 20 years, she's often called upon to share her knowledge at colleges and universities as a motivational speaker, where her vast experience in dealing with issues covering all areas of the television production world are becoming more and more valuable. And we're going to talk about how TV has evolved or devolved Please welcome the name that appears on the credits of my Golden Girls binge nights, Marsha Posner Williams.
Thank you.
Making her debut at On the Rocks.
Ew, take a breath.
All right. And what to say about Stan Zimmerman? Whew, he holds the record of being an On the Rocks guest more than anybody else in our over 14 years of recording.
How many times has it been now?
He's probably been on 11 times.
Oh, at
You
least.
should have had like a 5-timers club jacket or something.
Yeah, we
like
should get you a jacket.
Get you a jacket.
Something besides a drink.
Oh!
So the drinks aren't good enough for anyone for you anymore.
He's a
Good
diva.
enough.
He's had enough of our drinks. Doesn't need them anymore.
Okay.
But always a big supporter of On the Rocks. He has brought his huge Rolodex of celebrities to On the Rocks. Thank you. You didn't know where I was going to go with that. And we, as always, are very grateful to Stan. One of Stan's first major gigs with his writing partner, James Berg, was season 1 of The Golden Girls. Stan would go on to write for the Gilmore Girls, Rita Rocks, Roseanne, the highly quotable Brady Bunch reboot movies, which you didn't even know about.
I love those movies.
And he doesn't like Stan wrote them. He was like, what? And also ABC's Annie reboot with Kathy Bates, Alan Cumming, and Kristen Chenoweth, Audra McDonald, and Victor Garber. And the list goes on and on and on. And then the last few years, his stage works have garnered praise and some controversy, including his productions of The Diary of Anne Frank and his suicide play, Right Before I Go. His stage works have included many of his big-name celebrity friends from stage and screen, and you can read all about it in his first memoir, because I know there's probably going to be another one coming, The Girls from Golden to Gilmore, with a fascinating look at the reality behind being a screenwriter. And hot off the press, Stan has been named among SoCal's top eligible LGBTQ singles by the Los Angeles
Wait a
Blade.
minute, what?
Hot off the press, you didn't even know. We finalized the list today. You were nominated quite a few times, my friend.
Oh my God, that's so
Please welcome the
sweet.
return of Stan Zimmerman.
Yay.
Thank you. Everyone feels so bad for me for being single. Is that it?
No.
No. Okay.
You're single by choice because you and I have
That is
traveled the
true, that is
nation,
true.
and the boys, the men, and everything in between are crawling out of the woodwork. You have boys that travel states to come see you.
And what do I do with that?
You yawn.
No.
I say brag about it.
I love my life, and I'm very grateful for anybody that even looks my way. So
They all look your way, and I've met some of your suitors. And,
suitors.
Suitors.
That's so polite. Yes.
All right, lady and gentlemen, or lady and lady. Before we start talking about all things Golden Girls, and don't worry, fans, we're gonna get to Golden Girls. We always love to talk about like the lead up as to how we got here. Stan, we know that you were newbie to the scene. Things weren't as they were today, where if you want to pitch yourself as a writer, you're like, oh, go look at my web series I did, or my stand-up, or my TikTok. I'm really funny on Instagram. That's how people are getting gigs nowadays. How did a screenwriter get a job at this time? And we're talking the early 80s. What were you doing leading up to Golden Girls?
Well, you had to have an agent, so that was
But how do you even get an agent?
Now it's a whole process in the book of coming to LA and how you get an agent and writing a spec script of a show that was on the air, so people could see that you could write existing characters.
And this is insane to me because screenwriters spend hours doing this for
Yes.
something that people might not ever see in their lives.
So we
That's
did
right.
multiples, like we did A Facts of Life, we did Love Sydney, which was one of the first gay shows with Tony Randall. And then we were in Alice was the first one that we
Alice.
did. Alice with Linda Lavin.
Yeah.
And then we went to, because we couldn't afford to do anything in LA because we were so poor and young and new here. So our mentor, Gary Keeper, who worked at Paramount, said, come, there's this new show. It's one of the first few episodes that's going to be on NBC. And we went to see it. And it was a show about a bunch of people that worked and populated a bar in Boston. And literally the first scene ended, and Jim and I, my writing partner, Jim Berg, we looked at it and just said, this is our kind of show. Because it wasn't gag.
Yeah.
It was more character-oriented comedy.
Of course, you're talking about Cheers.
Cheers,
Yes.
yes.
It was
And we-
smart writing.
Very
Yeah.
smart writing. So
And
we
good
went-
characters.
Really
Good
strong
development.
characters. And so we went back to our homes, and that we wrote one of the first Cheers specs. So nobody had seen a Cheers spec because the show wasn't even on the air yet. So we kind of were ahead of the game, and that was the one script that suddenly, like, it went from nobody calling us back to suddenly we were the flavor of the month, and people were saying agents that wouldn't talk to us were taking us out to lunch and saying, I can, get you into the Playboy Mansion. And we're like, yeah, that's not going to work and help on these two. But we were flattered. And then all of a sudden we started getting a little bit of work. We got our first show, and then we did that one season. And then I was able to quit my job at the Vista Movie Theater, where I was an usher.
I love this.
I feel like that was like such a common job to have back
movie theater.
Yeah, movie theater.
I thought it was show business, so
Yeah.
I was very excited.
Yeah, I feel like that a lot of
And
people,
then there's a Golden Girls connection that Quentin Tarantino, as you know, was an extra
Yes,
on Golden
yes.
Girls.
He was an Elvis impersonator.
I love
Yep.
all these little full circle moments. And then we had pitched to, I think, Family Ties, and then to Valerie. Remember Valerie Harper
Yeah,
had the
sure.
show?
Yeah.
And we got
And
that.
Family Ties was such a hot show at the time.
We didn't get that gig, but we got the Valerie. They bought an episode, and then she had that whole thing with Lorimar.
Yeah.
And then it became
Cindy
Valerie's
Hogan.
family, and then the Hogan family. And then we pitched this new show. Said, "Can you come pitch for us?" Which was a bunch of 4 older women living in Miami Beach. And at that point, we went into Sunset Gower, and there was like a little room, and you were probably
Sunset
there.
Gower.
You were probably the one that said, "Here, watch a video cassette of the pilot." So you'd go in and watch in this little room in the back there, and then we went home and we came up with a bunch of episodes and went in and pitched. And luckily, they liked one of them, and then had us write a freelance episode. And that was going to be it, one little episode.
But the show wasn't in production yet, right? Or was it?
No, the pilot had been picked up. So as raised as smart boys, what did we do? We found out that you were starting to film a few of the episodes. So we did our homework. We went to those tapings and we took notes. And I think that's what helped us get the job because the staff said, how did they know? You know, they're not in the room, but they just had the voices because we went to tapings and we studied
Smart.
them. And so that's what I tell,
Yes.
you know, writing students, do the homework.
Right.
It's not going to come easy. You just have to do the homework.
And we talk about this on the show all the time. We have so many people that come to LA and they're like, "Oh, well, I'll just email stuff or I'll be famous
or
on
I'll
Instagram."
sleep with somebody.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, no,
Yeah.
you got to hit
Right.
the streets every day, all day until something clicks.
Right. Or
Mark Shaman's new book came out.
Oh, Mark Shaman.
And he talks about the thing is, he's like, just do it. And so he would pick up the phone as a newbie and be like, "Hey, I'm going to play piano for you." And they're like, Bella was like, "What? Who the hell are you?" But that's what you just do.
We went to
and that takes
tons
gumption.
of tapings. We went to a Laverne and Shirley episode. There's so many, just
to
because we
get,
wanted
what
to
the
learn
pattern-
what is it like to, who's on the set?
Yeah.
Where are
Right.
the actors? Well, who's the director? And that was our, class.
Very
That's
smart.
how we learned.
Very smart.
Well, and you had the benefit, you were so close to the women in your life. You kind of understood how women communicated and bonded.
Yes, but I didn't really realize that.
Mm.
I mean, it was second nature that I had very strong women in my life, but I didn't understand the connection to, that's how I could write for them. I was so young. I was just taking it all in.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad I just remember being on the stage. And luckily, I think it's my Midwestern upbringing that I took every moment and appreciated it. Also living in fear of having our contract picked up. I was thinking on the way here, when you go on a show, you have like a kind of a grace period where they test you out. And it was like, are they going to pick up our option for the full season?
I got to pay rent. I have to buy food.
All that.
Yeah.
And then we got picked up for the whole rest of the season. So that was super, super exciting. But then you're always conscious of how do you keep up the job and how do you prove yourself? And we were so young and we didn't know about writing jokes and then writing for those women. And remember the producers, Paul and Tony, they were in the room for maybe an hour or two after the run through. You remember all that, Marcy.
Giving their notes.
But also being the writing staff had to please them. There was such pressure because we knew you had the best of the best actors. The show was, raising in popularity.
Right.
Because at that point, nobody thought a show about 4 older women would ever be popular. That just was not the thinking. It was all Love Boat and
Cheers.
Cheers.
Right.
But young people. It was like Three's Company and that kind of comedy, and not something as rich and character oriented as
And the
Golden
funny thing
Girls.
is, these women weren't even really that much older than those other.
I mean, they're like
the people in those other shows.
They're like Jennifer Lopez's age now.
She's
Imagine.
even older than like.
But even their
they were
dresses,
really
you're
funny.
like,
God,
who would wear
here we
that?
go. That age thing. I'm that age. My birthstone is charcoal.
They turn into diamonds.
I used to watch silent porn. That's how old I am.
Silent porn.
So
I didn't know there was such a thing.
I'm just saying.
I call it vintage porn.
I'm
Just
old.
so
When you're a
you
young
know.
gay boy watching porn and not supposed to be, all porn is silent. 'Cause there's like,
Right.
yeah.
It's just like a
point.
pause for like 13 minutes
point.
reading the caption, and then you get to the
What's
next.
that pizza delivery guy
Caption?
doing?
Caption?
Well, no, they say that caption, but they stop and they like.
That's the whole genre,
during the
the
silent
pizza
movie, they
delivery
even say,
The whole
Hey,
thing it
"What's
is, it
going
inspired
on?"
everything.
Yeah.
And Marsha, your lead up to Golden Girls is so interesting. Your lead up, your entrance into Hollywood should be its own HBO Max series.
Yes.
Sleeping in your car, dancing with men for money,
Right.
typing out dirty jokes,
Right.
pawning your stuff. Tell us this
Pawning your
fantastical
stuff.
She was pawning stuff.
Okay, well, let's describe what stuff is. Yeah, that can mean anything.
Well, it was the 70s. There was
Yeah.
a lot of stuff.
Okay.
that we
There was a lot of
had,
stuff
you
to
know.
pawn, Stan.
You know, it was sex, drugs, and rock and roll in the 70s, I'm happy to say. Yeah.
So you rolled up to Hollywood in your car from where, with how much money in your pocket?
I don't remember how much money. I'm sure it was not much, but I came from Scottsdale, Arizona, is where I was born and raised. And at about 22 or 23, I always knew since I was 5, that's the business I wanted to work in. I didn't know comedy, drama. I didn't know that. I just knew that was the business. In Arizona, I worked at the local television station for 2 years as a secretary.
To see a little bit of it.
But after 2 years of people who said, if you're a female, remember Arizona, especially back then, was an extremely conservative state. And it was told right to my face, if you want a career, you want to be a secretary, right? No, I don't want to be a secretary. Although I had an uncanny skill at the time, I could type 120 words a minute.
That's crazy.
So that I decided, okay, I've had enough of this local stuff. I got to go to the big time. That's where I want to be. Drove to Hollywood, didn't know one person, no mentor, and I didn't know what to do.
That's insane to me.
With no job, no apartment?
nothing.
And by yourself, as a female in Hollywood, like she said, during the 70s.
And did your family, were they...
Well, my family was just my
supportive?
dad and my sister, and my dad said, do what you need to do.
Wow,
I was,
that's amazing.
And within 24 hours of getting here, I was back in Arizona. So literally.
What happened?
I said, Dad, they have more than one freeway out there. I don't know. I was scared to death.
And we call it like the 405. They just put the in front
Yeah.
of it.
No. Yeah.
It's called the one.
So I stayed in Phoenix for another couple of weeks. And I said, this is stupid. So I drove back to LA, had an apartment, lasted 2 weeks, and back to Arizona I went. I was so scared. I didn't know what to do. When I went back to Arizona, I had multiple job offers waiting for me because I could type so fast.
Yeah.
So when I do college lectures, I tell this to the kids, part of my story. I had to decide, do I want to stay here and be safe, but always wonder, what would have happened if I tried to do what it is I really think I want to do?
Yeah.
And as I say to them, the difference between a goal and a wish is your motivation. And that's what brought me back to LA. I said, I have to try, because the one thing I don't want to do in life, which is very important that I tell young people today, is you don't want to go through life wondering, what if?
Yeah.
Right? So I thought, I have to try, because this is my passion, whatever that is. And so the next 2 years were the worst 2 years of my life here, in the struggle of what I did to go through and sleeping in my car and dancing with men for money and typing for this. But the dirty jokes, typing, that was kind of fun.
But you stayed with it, and you stayed with it.
Yeah.
What was that turning point after the 2 years that kind of changed things for you?
It was very, very, I can tell you that in a second. So after 2 years of doing nothing but reading and typing jokes 5 days a week, 2 years, that's all I did. As I say to people, don't test me because you'll lose, okay? I was living with roommates at the time who took me in when I was in my car. Said, we have an extra, okay, so we were all 5 of us living together. And I get a phone call one night, and this woman said, you don't know us, we don't know you. I'm calling from MGM Studios. I'm working on a show starring Danny Thomas, who's starting the 2nd season of a series called The Practice. Well, I instantly knew who Danny Thomas was, and of course it's MGM. She said, look, we're starting the 2nd season. The creator of the show is flying in for just 4 weeks to help kick off the show. He's from New York. We need a secretary to work for him for just 4 weeks. Can you start Monday for $200 a week plus overtime? Of course, I said yes. Hung up the phone, called my dad and said, Dad, I've made it. Danny Thomas, MGM, NBC, like that.
Look at all those names, and Danny Thomas was like the household name.
Right. And of course, what happened as a result was I'm sitting here today, because the 4 weeks turned into 4 months, The creator left, but they moved me in to be the assistant to the executive producer. Show got canceled in 4 months. Tony Thomas, who was and Paul Witt, who were producing the show, came to me and said, "We formed our own company, and you're coming with us."
That's so exciting.
So I was the first employee of Witt Thomas Harris. How about that?
And those are the names you see on the Golden Girls all the time. But you also worked on soap.
Right.
And for the young ones out there, it was a TV series that was way ahead of its time.
Yes.
Featuring an amazing cast, also featuring the first kind of reoccurring gay character in primetime,
Right.
played by Billy Crystal, by the way.
Right.
Tell us some amazing background to this show. I mean, when you look at this cast, it's...
I remember the premiere coming up, and we all gathered to watch, and I was with my mother and some relatives, and I was so
You were in your
scared.
crib at the
This was so
time?
Because I was
controversial.
so in the closet, but I
Yeah.
had to watch the show. But it was so much talked about that everybody sat
Right.
down to watch the first one. But I was like, are they going to know it's about me? Or it
Oh.
was scary and exciting all at the same time.
It was, to this day, I believe, the most controversial sitcom in the history of sitcoms.
Yeah.
I was there, I'm happy to say, all 95 episodes, pilot to the very end. And my career grew, started here, then moved and moved and moved. And I was there through all the controversy. We had our windows, our offices faced Gower Street, a lot of us. And we kept our drapes closed at all times because there were so many protesters outside. We thought someone was going to throw a brick through the window. And I must tell you a great little story. Before the show went on the air, and there was all this controversy, because it wasn't just about the gay character, it was, we had a priest who wanted to leave the priesthood to marry someone, because I guess that never happens in real life. And we had adultery in this sitcom, and I guess that never happens. Okay, so I'm working, it's like 9 o'clock at night, the phone rings, I pick it up, and this guy says to me, "I want the address of where I can write a letter about this show." And I swear I was so tired, but I thought, all right, he just is talking to the wrong person right now. I said, "Happy to give you the address, but can I ask a question? What are you writing about?" "Well, I read this article. It says that soap is this, 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 this." I said, "Well, have you seen it?" "No." I said, "That's because it's not on the air yet, right?" "Right." I said, "So what you're telling me is you want to write a letter based on someone else's opinion. Is that what you're telling me?" I said, "You can do that, but wouldn't you rather watch it and then write from your heart?" I talked to this guy for over 15 minutes, and at the end he said, "You're right. I'm going to wait, and then I'll make my decision." Like, really, people?
And that man is...
Yeah, right? I know,
And then we
right?
got the letter,
Yeah.
and it was terrible.
You're right, yeah.
No, but how many situations would that solve today?
Right.
Just spending 15 minutes and talking to somebody.
I will tell you, I believe it would solve a lot of
Yeah.
problems.
Could you go to Washington right now?
Yeah, I know. I wish. I wish, because people don't understand that if you don't like it, that doesn't mean that everyone else shouldn't like it. Why do you think you have that power over all of us? I don't get that. That's why I never understood racism, because what if you were born black and ran into you? How would that make you feel? I don't get it. And what does this person's life have anything to do with your life? I don't get it. Why don't more people get that? It seems so simple.
Well, and working on Benson too, featuring a black man as the lead, Robert Guillaume, who became the first Black Phantom of the opera, by the way, when the musical came out.
Yes. And by the way, Bob, when he came to Soap, he came with a chip on his shoulder because we'd interviewed tons and tons of trying to cast that role, even thinking we should put a woman in the role, I remember, and they brought him out from New York, right? And so, the token black, whatever. But then, once he had his own show, I'll never forget walking in the parking lot and seeing his car, and his license plate said, "Who knew?" And I just loved that. I loved that. And I loved him too. He was great.
When we talk about all these names and your experiences, I mean, it just must boggle the mind. These are shows that I grew up watching the reruns, Alice, Benson, so, all of this.
But I have
of
to
course,
say, coming on set and seeing this beautiful face, you were so kind, and we just instantly with each other. And I just remember she has such a great energy that my writing partner and I were just like, we love her. We like her. We're hanging out with her. We have to talk to her. It was like, I can't thank you enough because it was so scary for us to be
It
there
had to have
in that
been.
whole world, and you didn't care that we were young or new. You just
Very
you
young, too.
embraced us,
Mm-hmm.
and that was
Because I have, to this day, after so many years and experience, to this day, I'm grateful every day that I went from this to that. And I'll never forget it. And I'll never deny anything that happened in my past, ever. Why would I do that? Somebody in a college lecture once said to me, "What are your regrets?" I said, if you regret something, you didn't learn from it. So I don't regret anything. Did I learn from mistakes? Of course. Hopefully we do. That's how we grow, right? But I'm so glad to hear that.
When was the first time that you guys met each other? That you remember
in the
meeting each
office,
other?
right?
in the office,
Yeah.
like in the hallway. And I think you
Yeah.
just
Was it like
kinda-
a read through? Was it?
No,
oh, here's
it was
here's
a-
our new writers, Stan and
Yeah,
Jay.
probably
Yeah,
you like helped us like if you need this or that, and
Right,
I'm down the
right,
hall,
yeah.
and then we would come to you. But
And then it was out to West Hollywood for a drink.
Yeah.
that, yeah. No, but you
You
could
didn't
just
know about him, right? Or you kind of maybe
no. We were in the
figured?
closet.
Yeah, totally in the
Totally
closet.
in the
So
closet.
none of it.
Marsha,
That was
I
the-
have a feeling your gator is pretty
Well,
good.
Right.
it's grown over the years
Yeah.
I mean, tremendously.
But I felt the acceptance
Yeah,
and the love
absolutely.
in an environment where there wasn't very
Felt
much.
safe.
Right.
We did not feel welcome there at all, except for you and Estelle.
Mm-hmm.
And Rue a little bit came to us, but everybody else we were like, I don't know, and we were just scared.
It's a scary business.
But it was a
This is a
scary
very-
place.
yes,
and people
yeah.
feel like that show is so full of love and progressive people. And
Really?
she's
People
laughing.
say that?
Yes, they do. And like you and I know, and we don't want to ruin that feeling.
Right.
Well, we all
but
know like
we've
behind
seen-
the scenes stuff is, and even to this day in the industry, it's still very
and the
much
Golden
behind
Girls
the scenes.
fans, they want to hear these stories. They
Yeah.
want to know the wake up. And I think it's so important for younger people in the business to know the reality of like, hey, you're going to have bad days. You're going to have bad relationships. You're going to have bad gigs. You
Right.
do it and then you move on.
Right.
And who knows?
But we learned to gravitate toward the people that love you and embrace you
Of
and
course.
accept you. And you did, and Estelle did, and it was very rare in that environment. So I think that's why we're still
Yeah.
love
Buddies.
each other so
Yeah.
much that when we see
Yeah.
each other, we just have a fondness.
And
Yeah.
it must be fun for you giving these young two kids a chance and to see everything that they've done.
It's thrilling.
Yeah.
It's absolutely thrilling. I remember saying to a kid once, she said, "Is it true that there are terrible people in this business?" And I said, "There's terrible people in every business, right? But what's the one greatest thing about working for the most vile human being you've met in your life?" And I've worked for two of them. And she just looked at me like, there's no answer to that. I said, the truth is, and again, I speak from experience, if you can survive that, the rest is easy. But it's an attitude that you have to take that makes the difference, right? So fortunately, because of my tremendous sense of humor that I now have had for a long time, I can get through anything with these people, these vile people.
But did you know they were vile at the moment?
In the
Who are we
second
talking about?
I met
Are you allowed to
Really?
name them? Name them.
Listen, we don't need a hit.
Well, they're in the credit every day. So,
Yeah.
but did you know at the time where you were in this, like, I'm in this glamorous?
let me just say
Okay.
this, okay?
There ain't no filter on the rocks.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to tell you.
One of the shows I did, I started the third season. I was the fifth producer in the job because the executive was so vile.
Which show?
And the person before me, well, a girl before me, left with a bleeding ulcer and her hair was falling out.
Oh my God.
It was the only show I had to keep a bottle of booze in my desk.
Wow.
But I handled this guy in ways he'd never been handled before, in that I stood up to him, but in my own Marsha way. And so, anyway, the stories are great.
Oh my
I
god!
still didn't get any names though, girl.
Yeah.
No, but no, well, if we have time.
I'm gonna have to go down to
Okay.
IMDb like,
You'll get that after the show.
Yeah.
But did you find it hard, like a lot of people, when you start as a secretary or assistant, for them to see you as a producer?
It was very difficult for certain people who shall remain nameless.
Why? Come on, we're on the rocks. Name them. Initials.
No, because you'll know instantly who
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
Well, okay. Well, let's keep
Yeah,
the
let's keep
conversation
going.
going, and
Yeah.
maybe it'll seep out
Yeah,
a little
okay,
bit.
okay.
All right, so let's dive into Golden Girls. Here's the truth for those that don't know: the beginning of Golden Girls, it was based on a skit that was produced for the NBC Upfronts, and it featured Selma Diamond from Night Court, which
Yeah.
you know her very well,
Yeah.
and Doris Roberts of Remington Steele, which is a show I used to watch with my grandma.
And she was
we,
on
of course,
soap. She was on soap.
Oh, that's right. She was on soap.
Yeah.
And of course, later generations know her from Everybody Loves Raymond. So they did a funny little skit called Miami Nice about old women living in Miami. It was a parody of Miami Vice, which was NBC's hot show at the time. But the idea blossomed into a show. Susan Harris, who was semi-retired at the time, was called in to write for the show. And then the rest is history. And the credits we see for season 1, Marsha Posner Williams, Susan Harris, and Stan Zimmerman. So that is how it came to be. It was a parody of skit.
Right.
And the credits,
You know, the main title.
main titles.
You were responsible. Oh, so this is a fun fact. Oh, you tell it. It's you.
She's here.
I'm such a fan. I'm just like, and guess what? Look what she did. Well, you tell you
He's just telling you what you did.
Yeah.
Did you know you did this?
She's like, yes, I remember.
Yeah.
Opening credits that are iconic.
I built those.
Yeah.
Frame for frame. And even Tony Thomas said to me, I've never seen a rough cut in which I gave 0 notes. He said, that's it.
Everybody can recreate this from memory.
You
Wow.
just see that plane.
Everything.
You
Yes.
feel
But
it.
why
the plane?
why did they change like 3 shots in the later years? I don't.
We're
One
going
of
to talk
them.
about the later years after
Yeah.
both of you
Yeah.
were gone.
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
Okay,
And,
well,
and
But why did you pick
We will.
those images?
because, well, I took all the raw footage from the first 4 episodes, and I will say as the backstory that Tony told me one day, you know, we're taking meetings with main title companies. This is what they do. And they're pitching us all these ideas about taking the ladies to Miami and doing helicopters, blah, 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 and all this for a lot of money, like between $20,000 and $40,000. And he said, nothing's tweaking our propeller, you know? And we had the song.
I haven't heard that. I want my propeller tweaked.
Yeah.
Your propeller gets
There you
tweaked
go.
slightly. Okay.
So we had, we'd already recorded the song. We knew what the song was. And yes.
There was something even with the song that wasn't like the original choice, right?
No, I think it was.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I was there when she recorded it. I don't know. She did it in
Can you
one
imagine
take.
being there while they're recording this iconic song?
Yeah, she actually did it in one take. She said, "Okay, that's it."
But
And
why
I said-
didn't you use the original
That's all you're
Andrew
gonna
Gold,
get.
the original Andrew Gold version?
He
didn't
I
want
don't
to?
I don't think either was too expensive or he didn't want to do it, but they licensed the song, you know. So
And Andrew Gold has this weird refrain in his. I don't know if you ever heard it. It gets
Yeah.
a little somber, actually. Anyway, you were there in the room.
somebody
in the room where it
died.
happened.
Okay, right.
One take.
So he said to me, nothing is, getting us excited, especially for that kind of money. And I said, well, let me just go into an edit bay with all the raw footage of the 4 episodes and the song, and let me just, fuck around with it. So that's exactly what I did. And I've been into music my whole life, so I know how to read, I know how to play a few instruments. So I know where the beat is. Let's
Yeah.
put it that way. So I studied those 4 episodes very well, and I made notes of all the fun stuff. Like I just, as an aside, the special that came out a couple of months ago, I was horrified when I saw a shot in that showing B. Arthur slapping Betty White. I said, oh my God, I never in a million years would have picked a shot like that, because there's nothing funny about that shot, especially out of context.
Yeah.
Right? When it's, yeah. Anyway, so I put myself and the editor spent the day with me and my pages after page after page of notes on the song. And
We're talking about old school editing too, where you're
Yeah.
not just like
Yeah,
on a
because-
computer.
Because
Like
you can't Google a plane Miami.
No.
How'd you pick that? Like the
that
plane
plane,
and the flight?
I think, was in the original at the upfronts where the Selma Diamond, all that.
For the
and
Miami
they had
Vice.
they had
So that
a,
was free
They had
to
a
use
main
that?
title.
Stock image
It
or
was stock
something?
image,
So
right?
stock,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
crazy. But you're right. The sense of music where like the bum, bum,
Yeah,
bum,
yeah.
it's the throwing, and
Yes,
it's the door
and
slam.
it's
everything
I'm
there.
nervous as a
Yes.
person, as a virgin,
It's on the-
person rodeo.
I love how we can act. And we
He
all
does
have
this every night
flags,
in
yes.
his negligee.
Wow, there you go.
Let's say whenever you enter the bar.
Just Tuesdays, yeah. Let's
Yeah,
meet
it
the
works. It works.
Southern.
Stan's here at the Abbey. Yeah, there you go.
So,
Yeah.
But then again, that's another example of when you're in the industry, you just do whatever it takes. So you have to know how to do everything. Like you
Well,
knew how to sit there and edit. You're a producer.
That wasn't my job, but I said, let me just take a shot at it. And he was, go do it. Go
And they
do
paid
it.
you extra for that,
Yeah,
right?
right.
yeah, sure.
Yeah,
no, they're like, oh, great.
yeah,
We're going to use it again for
But
years
the
and years and years and
funny
years and
thing-
years.
But what the funny thing is about what you just said is that when they did a pilot that I had nothing to do with, I walked in my office one day and there were like 43-quarter-inch cassettes on my desk. I said, what's this? Oh, they want you to build the main title for the thing that they did. So then
You started doing that?
So then
That's how that happens after you offer to do it first time.
So we did a pilot with Ted Bessel called The Arena. I had to do that main title. Then we did Bruce White's from NYPD Blue. We did a series with him with Nancy Walker, actually called Mama's Boy or Mama's Goy. But and I had to build the main title for that. But okay.
Well, it worked
Whatever.
once.
No,
I have to know who picked the house, because the house, it's on social
iconic,
media all the
yes,
time.
Yeah.
And then there's those
There's even
shots.
a Lego set now.
Somebody drives
Is
that
it
car
really?
up.
It
There's those
is?
shots in
think so.
between. Somebody drives that car so fast into the driveway, all the gays laugh at it because it's in between, or it's the beginning of a.
Now, how'd you pick the house?
I didn't pick the house. I did, however, myself and another person did pick the house for Benson. No.
Oh, okay.
We were, because they couldn't find the house, so they said to myself and Ellen Gittleson, just go drive around, and we found it in Pasadena. That was the house. But the Golden Girls house was,
I feel like you were in the room when we came up with St. Olaf as a name. Do you remember that? Because explain that, you couldn't have a character name that lived in that town.
Correct.
But I feel like
Correct.
you came in with a phone book of
I
towns?
remember somebody came in with a phone book. I don't
not
think it was
you?
me. No.
I'm going to tell it's you. Yeah.
Okay.
I was literally in the writer's room going,
So explain how St. Olaf becomes St. Olaf.
Just like phone numbers, you can't use real phone numbers. That's why it always was the 555.
so we were in the
Right,
writer's room
right.
going, like, we need to explain, like, oh, I'm from somewhere. So where is Rose from? And I feel like you were there, and we were like discussing what are the rules of using a town.
They couldn't be from real places?
Explain how that.
It can be a
It
familiar
can't be a
place
real Rose Nyland that lived
in St. Olaf.
So you have
Olaf.
to look up
Right.
St. Olaf and see
Right.
if
And you would be like the
Oh,
weren't you
I
the
see.
person that had to come in and
Back then it'd be
say
so much harder, yeah.
you can or cannot use
the legal,
that?
It goes through legal,
Legal.
and just like with
But that would go through
music-
you,
Yeah.
right?
Well, no, it goes.
Okay.
They just give it to legal, and legal goes through it. So, I mean, it might go through me. I don't remember. It was so long ago.
I feel like you were in there.
I was
coming and
12
saying
at the
yes or
time.
no. And then we
But you
came
were
up,
there, and
I
St.
was
Olaf
in the
was the
radio,
choice.
I
and
never
then we
thought
were
of
like
that.
St. Olaf,
Yeah.
and we're like that.
Yeah.
Yes, that sounds kind of like how
Yeah.
it would be.
You do,
And
I
we're
mean, think
clear.
about it. If there
Yeah.
was a real person,
Yeah.
Right.
their life would never.
That's
be
why
the
you
same.
do. That's why you always want to try to pick like obscure names that like
Exactly.
would be really like you're not gonna pick Jon Snow or
Right.
like John
Right.
Smith or whatever. You know.
Exactly.
Okay, we're going to do a little thing called First Impressions. So, Marsha, what point of development in Golden Girls did you come in? Were you at the very ground level?
I came in for the reshoot of the pilot because I was doing their other show called, what was it called?
The Petty Duke?
Yeah, Hail to the
Duke.
Chief.
Hail to the Chief.
Seven
Danny
of the
Coleman,
funniest
right?
episodes.
Or
Huh?
no?
No, it was with Patty Duke, Ted Bessel, Hersh Bernardi,
What's with
Murray
Ted Bessel?
Hamilton.
You just love Ted Bessel.
Yeah. It was so funny. Those 7 episodes were so funny. ABC actually billed it, and I'm not kidding, the show that would offend everybody.
Love that.
And
The first
apparently it
female
did.
president.
Yeah, funny
Yeah,
that.
that'll never happen.
Yeah, right. So
Yeah.
while we were doing those 7 episodes, they were doing the original pilot with Coco, the 5th character,
Yep.
right?
Poor Coco.
And then, yeah,
So you weren't involved in producing that?
no. But I came in
And
for the
was there
reshoot.
a
the
line
reshoot.
producer on it?
But the reshoot still has Coco in it. Or the second episode was then the new pilot?
I'm having a senior moment right now
Yeah.
to try to remember.
So Coco is in the pilot.
But not the second episode.
Not
No.
so you're not even
No.
mention
Yeah.
of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't
so
go
maybe
play
the
Coco.
No,
the
because-
reshoot was the second episode then.
Maybe
Yeah.
it was
Back
so long.
then, there wasn't the internet, so you couldn't. They just thought, oh, people will forget there was a Coco.
Like
We're just
Golden
gonna
Girls,
move on.
One
Yeah.
guest actor
Not
comes
thinking
in as
that
3
like,
different
DVDs
characters.
will come out later and people
But
will just
I-
like,
Enrique Mas
they
played the
check it, like,
violin, and he was a
But
boxer.
I don't know why, but I was always like, well, but everyone saw Coco, so I kept saying, let's do an episode about Coco. Let's explain where Coco went. No, if you don't bring it up, nobody will ever remember Coco. And here we are talking about
Justice
fucking
for
fucking
Coco.
Coco.
I feel like
Yes,
that happened
yeah.
a lot in like sitcoms back then,
Yeah.
like in the 90s too,
They
where also
just
you'd have
disappear.
like characters that were kind of like consistent, and all of a sudden they just sort of like, never mind,
Yeah,
phase them
yeah,
out.
they're
and
done.
then-
Yeah.
Because you couldn't go, like you said, you couldn't just watch a season at a time.
Right.
No,
No.
it
If
was-
you saw it again,
what,
you were lucky.
syndicated. Is that when they
Syndication,
Yeah,
yeah,
it was
that's
in
it.
syndication, so they you know.
Or when they were on a hiatus, they'd play the repeats.
Yeah.
And the fact that Dorothy's children never changed, but Blanche's kids changed how many different acts? I'm like, oh my God. And her sisters, too. Okay, so you came in after the reshoot of the pilot. What was your first thought when you watched the actual pilot and you went in for reshoots? And what was the first time you were in the same room with all of the four ladies?
Probably at the reading, the first reading that I went to. And it was...
So that was episode 2?
No, it was for...
Oh, the reshoot of the
Yeah,
pilot.
right. So let's call it 1.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they
Now
shot
I'm
it.
going to go
They
back
do that
and
sometimes.
No, sometimes when they shoot like episode 2, then they would do like reshoots for
Right,
it.
they
that's
do,
what they-
yeah. Yeah. So I had been on Soap and Benson by then and Night Court. And it was, we've got some really iconic women here. This is like pretty cool. I used to watch Maude all the time and B. Arthur, and just that's very cool. But I got stuff to do in my office, So I was just very like nonplussed about it. It was just very okay. It's a job right now, until it really then started to take off, and it's never been so much fun as it is like now.
But you never
No.
felt it was like these big actresses all together?
The only time I ever felt that, honestly, was when I drove B. Arthur home one night.
Please tell
Oh
the
my
story.
God.
Because I heard it.
Yeah.
We were at a up north. Please, everybody, moment of silence for the story. Story.
Sit down, chillage.
Yeah.
Sit down.
No, it just...
It's so quintessential.
Did she have her
New York.
seatbelt on? What was she doing?
Yeah, I was asked to drive her home after the show one night. And,
Why?
Well,
No, Marcia, you have to
No.
start at the story at the
No.
appropriate
You
moment.
if
You have
you
to-
read it,
you have to
then
get through
you can
every
tell
detail.
it. It's not going to come out of my mouth, but if you read it, you can tell it. Okay.
Shooting nights. Well,
There was some alcohol involved.
So we'll get into what the actual schedule of the week looks like, because
Okay.
fans would like to hear it. But there was 2 shows that were filmed on Friday nights with different audiences to get different reactions, to change the things in between.
It was the same show filmed twice.
Right.
Right.
Yes. And it was usually
yes.
Friday evenings after
Yes.
the week of walkthroughs and rewrites and all of this. In between, the cast members would have dinner. Sometimes
Right.
they'd have dinner together.
In their
Sometimes they
robes.
wouldn't.
Right.
In their robes.
But you know why? In their robes, right?
What? Makeup. Hair?
Well, you want to make sure they don't spill anything on their wardrobe.
Yeah.
Right?
I know, but as a young person, I'm like, and so say, come sit with us. I'm not sitting with B. Arthur in a robe. I thought anything could
I thought
happen.
she always wore a robe
It
anyway.
felt very uncomfortable
what-
for me as
But
yeah.
sometimes in between takes.
Yeah, I was scared to sit.
I was like-
I was shy. I was like, no,
Did you know
Betty
they're-
White in a
Yeah,
robe.
but these icons could wear a robe and still be
Well, then I start
like,
imaging like what's behind the robe. Don't go there. Don't go there. Sorry.
Oh, that's,
I was
I don't know
still
where that went.
discovering my sexuality. I
Okay,
guess. Yeah,
okay.
there you go.
Okay,
There you go.
all right.
Let that one
Moving
slide.
forward,
Yeah.
yeah.
Slide.
some of the confirmed stories I've heard is in between, some of the actors would drink a little, they'd play pranks on each other, somebody stopped
No,
up somebody
not
else's.
between
It's
shows.
so unheard of.
I heard that somebody stopped up somebody else's bathroom.
Don't look at me. I don't know that.
They didn't drink between shows, did
No,
they?
mostly it was after the show for then pickups when the audience was gone.
Oh, okay. Then I
Not
stand
between
corrected.
shows. They were professionals.
Yeah.
They would not.
So was
have done
Elaine
that.
Stritch, and I mean, she drank at her audition for
Well,
Gilmore
that's
Girls.
a different story.
Well, that
yeah.
was a different story.
Yeah.
So what I can say, what you don't have to say, is B. Arthur had a few, but it wasn't like it was out of the ordinary that she had
She
a
liked to
few.
drink.
Yeah, she's
you
from
know.
that old school Broadway.
Yeah.
Elaine Stritch drinking. Okay,
Yeah.
so I said it, so you don't have to.
Okay, well, okay.
She had drink that
So
night.
that's why you drove her home.
And
Okay.
I was
People
asked,
drove her home.
to
I
drive her
remember
home.
Jeff-
And I do remember driving down, and she lived nowhere near me. Okay. But that's okay. So I called my husband, Wayne, and I said, red alert, red alert. I need to drive B home. You need to meet me at her house because I'm in her car.
So you left your car at the studio.
Right. So I drove very slowly because I wanted him to be there before me. Right. And we're driving, and she is pulling on my hair like this, going, "I love you, darling. I love you, darling." And
Not the first to do that, I'm
and
sure.
it-
But
well,
it's B. Arthur.
the first woman to do that.
Oh,
okay.
There's a little window.
Not so
Okay.
free in the 70s. Okay.
Yeah. And
Porn stars, but not women. Okay,
Yeah,
I
so-
see.
and when we got to her house, which had this big gate, and the Dobermans behind the gate, which were very well known, we just sat there, and I said, "Do you want to open the gate?" She said, "Thanks for the ride." Or, so I just got out of the car. Wayne was there waiting for me, thank goodness. I got out of the car and we left. I have no idea if she slept in the car, if she got in and walked through. But the next day at the table, I'm sitting at the table. She walks by and she said, "Thanks for the ride." I said, "Okay."
And that's all she would admit probably from that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or
she
recall.
probably did sleep in the car for a minute and then just like realized what she's like,
Yeah.
What was her car, though? We know Betty White had her signature Cadillac. What was B. Arthur driving?
Yeah.
A BMW. I remember.
That's interesting. That she drove a BMW.
Well,
Yeah,
she
well,
actually
back
called
then.
my husband one day and said, "Wayne, I just bought a new BMW and the cassette player doesn't work. I need you to come over to my house."
Set player.
Oh, in a car that's so luxurious.
Isn't it? Yeah. So
Now,
he,
Marsha, wouldn't also B call you at other times of the night? Are you allowed to talk about that, or do I need to tell
it's up to you if you want to talk about that. You mean about the other show that I was on?
Either that or just B calling and...
Oh yeah, about who she ran into at the store. Yeah, she did call me one day she was very upset that she ran into Betty White in the grocery store because they lived in the same neighborhood, and she was very upset. Said, "I'm going to write her a letter because, as the fans know,
And mail the letter?
This is what you did.
I'm just telling you what happened."
Okay.
Okay.
Listen, Stan.
There was a process to it.
Let me
because
tell
what
the
she
story.
wanted to say. Yes.
And
Gotta
so,
remember the story.
and listen, it is not. It's well known
Yes.
that the two of them, that B didn't like Betty. Betty didn't care. She was, but B just didn't like. Okay, that happens on sets. We've all seen that happen. But she called me. She said, "I just saw her at the grocery store. I'm so mad. She used the C word. And, I want to write her a letter." And I
Back
said,
then?
I mean, yeah, that's a pretty drastic word.
it was B. Arthur. Okay.
But
From the theater. And I said, "B, please do this. Write the letter, put it in your desk, wait 3 days, take the letter out of your desk, read it out loud, and then throw it away because there's no point. Just forget it." Okay? So that's exactly what she did.
She probably had like a million letters in that drawer.
Right, yeah.
smart advice
First of all, it's great advice. But first of all,
Her family's like,
points,
like
Steve.
go through
B. Arthur goes
Steven.
to the grocery store? Like,
Yeah, I can't imagine B. Arthur in the grocery
imagine
store.
just, going through, bonds or whatever.
No, I
and,
can't imagine.
Her family's just like,
there's B.
what?
Arthur.
Like, opens the door, it's like a cartoon, just like everything in his
Yeah.
house.
I mean, if there was an era one at that time.
Oh, yeah, she could do that.
But yeah, imagine them shopping and B. Arthur in her slippers or her
in the
sandals.
produce section,
Sandals,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Sandals,
That's like
yeah.
a skit right there.
Well, there's that funny episode of Golden Girls where in their grocery store and she's
Right.
like, and they buy the Italian sausage. Like, that's obnoxious. That's so funny though. But here's what a real producer does. It's not just what they do on set. You had to handle all of the different personalities. You had to calm everybody down.
You're a
You had to deal with this
therapist, yeah.
therapist, and you gave the best
Mother.
advice because if she would have sent, and who knows if she sent her. or
Right.
not.
It always, even on the other show that with Thomas did simultaneous to Golden Girls called One Big Family, we had an actor who was wonderful. It was Danny Thomas's show, but we had a young actor who would go up, throw a tantrum every once in a
was
while. Wait, just see, he always wants to know the name,
I
right?
know.
So
we
bad,
all
yeah.
do.
We'll tell you later.
And
Marsha, you're never doing a gay podcast again.
We want names here.
I'm going to give you a great example, and I'm going to be a little off color, but I know you'll appreciate
Please,
it.
please.
Like, that's
Okay,
never happened.
So
They have the rainbow right
we
here.
had,
so
we
it's always
were.
awkward.
It was a block and shoot, no audience, because Danny's age. Okay, so block and shoot. So it's sit there all day while it's happening, and we're about half an hour away from the end when this guy has a tantrum, and when I say tantrum, I mean he's sitting there like this, dead staring straight ahead, and the whole stage literally froze. Froze. Actors, crew, everybody froze. Stage manager comes running in. Somebody's got to do something. We punch black in 20 minutes. We can't go overtime. We have a kid. Can't shoot it next week. We're on hiatus. Somebody's got to do something. And everyone turns to me and goes, "Marsha, take care of it." So I took care of it. Do you
You
want to
gotta do the opening of a show. You gotta
How
take
did
care
you
of your
take care
actors.
of
This is
it?
like-
We get things
Yeah.
done.
How did you take care of it?
Okay, so I want you to picture a 14,000 square foot stage, completely dark with the lights just on this one set. And the only sound, literally, the only sound you hear, because everyone is petrified and frozen in place, are the sounds of my shoes walking across the stage
my
to this
God.
guy.
That click clack
Yeah.
sound.
Yeah. Okay? The guy's at the edge of the couch with his arms crossed, dead staring, right? I walk over to him. I lean down because there's a boom around. I don't want the boom to hear what I'm going to say. I put my lips right up to his ear and I whispered to him, would a little head help you right now?
Nobody said that to me ever.
Because I know you
They
want a
already
big head.
knew the answer.
Yeah.
Marsha.
Marsha.
I
I'm
put the two and two together.
I'm so glad I'm so glad I got to say it.
Marsha, what did he say?
He
Were
started
you
to laugh so hard, it broke the mood.
Yeah.
We got it done. And I ran into him years
you gave
later.
him
He
head.
said, it's a moment I'll never forget. And, you know, I just took care of it.
And then like Bjorn,
That's all
on your
it's all
hair,
it
and, like, I love you and all that. That's so interesting. Stan, when are you going to write the HBO Max series
Is that
of her
called
life?
thinking on your
She
feet?
needs to write her
Right?
own story.
Slightly off too.
Who would play you if we did your life
I don't
story?
know.
Come on.
No.
Toni Collette.
Collapse.
Yeah, because she's like a hard ass.
We're doing life story. So we gotta start.
No, stop.
Yeah, we're doing life
It
story.
would be
The
good,
stories
yeah.
are endless.
Who do you see like
Endless.
portraying
I don't.
Anne
Yeah,
Hathaway?
I don't.
I could see Anne Hathaway.
There
You know, she
go.
always has
With a little
to
head. I'm going to title this episode One Little Head now.
I know.
Okay,
Sarah Silverman.
Back to Stan.
There you go.
No, we have so much
So
to get
much.
through.
Let's do another hour.
Yeah.
You see, and he's like,
That was
I gotta go. How long?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How long? I have bingo later. No, that's for the Catholics.
Bingo.
Stan, so first impressions. I want you to retell the story of selling a show
Oh.
because that's so magical. People
Sounds like
think
he really wants to tell that story.
Well, first of
no,
all,
no, how I thought that you were all in a writer's room and everybody was smoking and writing, and then you came up with the episodes all together. That's not anywhere near
You mean
how the
getting
Golden
that
Girls.
first episode or like just in a room pitching
I
episodes?
thought every
usually-
show was just everybody's submitting a line and the story's all
no.
no.
Well,
it's
those are
an
two different things,
individual
getting
Okay.
the job and getting that first episode.
experience. Yeah, so tell
no.
us how you got the first episode.
Well, we
Well,
went in
yeah,
and watched
right,
the video
right.
of the show, and probably you were the one that said, hey, or Dan
Watch this.
Palladino, or somebody said, go to this room, watch the pilot. We went home, and we came up with like 4 or 5 thought out beginning, middle, and end, and then a couple of random lines. Then you go back into Sunset Gower, park in the, you probably arranged our parking permit.
And for the On the Rocks fans, our first studio was Sunset Gower
Yes,
Studio.
I remember that.
And so when you talk about the
I know.
videos
Yeah.
overlooking
I just have
Gower, that's
a
where
memory
our...
when we were shooting.
Yeah,
there.
so it's
Yeah.
full
And they kicked
circle.
us all out.
Full
Yeah.
circle, yeah.
They did.
Thank you, Shonda Rhimes.
They did.
She
Yeah.
Shonda Rhimes bought it. She's like, I don't want these
Oh.
podcast people.
No, we don't need that.
It was-
Okay.
So then we went in there and we sat on the couch in Terry Grossman and Kathy Spears' office.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Paul Witt might have been there, not Tony. Could that have been true? You don't know, yeah. One of them.
Mm-hmm.
But Morton Barry, I don't think were in there. It was just Terry and Kathy. And we were pitching a little hard out and they're going, all these episodes.
And how terrifying. You guys are newbies, and you're like, this
We're
scenario, this
children
scenario.
walking into Sunset Gower, all these
babies.
and with like a show with like B. Arthur and Betty White that
Yeah.
we grew up with.
What were some of the scenarios that you were putting
I
in?
have them somewhere.
Together.
And we pitch them, they're going, no,
Everyone.
no. And we're just like, and you just feel like the room go,
How many
Oh, that must have hurt.
ideas did you come in with?
probably like 4. And then so I just remember we're like, well, okay, that's that. And we're like, but we had the Valerie Harper show. We had that job.
So you thought that was it.
That would be fun. We're like in my mind going, that'll be that. And it's great. It's,
Yeah.
We love Valerie Harper. And she's, we didn't know what this show would be. We're walking to that door. Remember in the corner of that long office, Terry
Yeah,
and Kathy?
okay, oh, yeah.
Remember?
Mhm.
I remember just being in the door frame. And I don't know what came over me. And I just like turned around and said, what if Rose's mother came to visit? And there was like a pause. And we must have had that
Wow.
on the list.
Wow.
And I was like, uh-oh, like we're in trouble. They're going to like, get out.
And where did that come from? Literally nowhere?
I think we might have had it somewhere
And
out
it just, like,
lower down. I
remembered
was
it.
desperate.
Yeah.
I'm not getting out of here without it. And they all of a sudden, I think
That's
it
your
was
Hail
Paul,
Mary.
yeah, and
yeah,
Paul,
exactly.
Paul's, I think it was Paul Witt that said, "Come back, sit down." And then they just started like spitballing. I'm getting a shiver now.
This
Yeah.
is magical.
And then
Yeah.
they said they started spitballing. And I'm like, oh, that excited them of what that would mean. And then we're just like, oh my god, we're
It's a
taking
very
notes.
movie moment.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, and then we and
I
then
love
like,
it.
What
and
did
they
you
said
say?
thank
What did you
you, and then we walked to our parking where we had to pass
Yes,
our parking.
yes.
I think we drove together because we were so nervous, and then we're like, what just happened? We didn't know, and then we got home and the phone rang and it was our agent said they want to pay you to write this episode. And that's when we said,
Now I have a shiver.
I think we should just focus on this. Something told us this was very important. And we called our agent and said, tell Valerie, like, you can buy the episode, which they bought the story, but we just need to put all of our attention on the show.
I love it.
Just a higher voice said that. And
So how long did it take you to write the episode?
We wrote it really quickly.
You did?
And I mean, I can look back and so many of those lines from that first are still in this show, which is so rare. And I think and Morton Berry were our real, Morton Nathan and Barry Finero, they championed us on that. And they said, these guys get it.
Yeah.
Look at what they wrote and they don't know the show. But as we got the job, we went to those tapings and then we went home and we just heard those characters.
What was it like to go to the taping of that show?
Exciting. It was like we knew we had a job, but we also knew the pressure of this script had to come in. And we were up against Susan Beavers, who had also was, and we had heard somehow that she was friends with Paul White and Tony Thomas.
Well, she, on Soap, second season of Soap, to interrupt for just a moment.
Sure.
On the second season of Soap, I went from being first season Susan Harris's assistant, which was the greatest place to be because I was the first one to read everything she wrote. Second year, I became the script supervisor. Third year, they brought me back upstairs and Susan Beavers replaced me as the script supervisor. When I went to Night Court, Susan was the script supervisor on Night Court. And then she went on to have this amazing career.
Yeah. So we knew we were up against her and that she was a favorite of Paul White and Tony Thomas. And I guess that script had to be like kind of page one rewrite. And then they were like, they get the show, they get the character, they get the sound. You captured
Rose so well.
But we didn't know. And so they were like, we need these guys on staff. And that's why I was like, get them on quickly.
Wow.
And then
you were
just
part of
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
And for our fans, that was the Blanche and the Younger Man episode, which has some of the funniest
Rose's
lines.
mother, yes.
Yes. But it had Rose's mother, but also Blanche was dating
That
the
was
Younger
what
Man.
it
She's
was
like,
called.
in what, Blanche?
In dog years.
Has
All
gone
One of the
on to
greatest
in
lines
the first
ever.
draft of the script. That was all or I haven't been in that position since I gave birth.
Yeah.
All in the first draft, which is so weird that now there's
That
lines.
never happens anymore.
Iconic.
I got it
Iconic.
changed to Rose's mother because I wanted to nominate for an Emmy. And I thought there's never going to give an Emmy to Blanche and the Younger Man. So I think I somehow campaigned with you and those people because you guys submitted it to call it Rose's mother. And that's how it came to be, AKA Rose's mother.
Stan also wrote The Flu, which is one of my favorite episodes. Like,
Not mine.
if that's not a water bottle, then I want to know what's
So
going
we
on.
were, I think, contract. What? No, we wrote it, but it's not my favorite episode.
Oh, it's not your favorite.
Yeah, no, but it
So
wrote
I
it.
think
That
we
was
had
so
that,
funny though,
and they
because
said-
there's no other sideline storylines. They're sick and one.
What is
out.
your favorite episode?
Well, Rose's mother,
Rose's mother.
and adult education.
Education.
I love that one, but I think we were not planned to write a third episode. I think they said they did the first one, we'll give them another one. We were not contracted to, and because they loved adult education, they said let's give them The Flu. Well, that's a hard story because very rarely you normally have, and we were taught on that show, an A story and a B story.
Right.
And this show, they all had the same A story. Like, what other episode can you think of? What they all had the flu. They all had to deal with it. So there was so much controversy of how to tell that story.
And yet,
So it was,
Technical.
and yet it came
It's
out
one of the
great.
most
But it was
popular-
it was a very
everything,
it was
yeah.
a very difficult week because we just were like, and it was just we were thrown into it. You had to write it fast, and then we all kind of wrote a lot of it.
and
in
now
there.
look at you.
And now look at
And I
it.
should tell you,
Like, that's easy.
all of my gay friends, whenever we're not feeling well, I'm like, it's amazing I can feel so bad but look so good.
Good. Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of like the meme that goes around where people are like crying, but then they have to like make a like
Look
a
Right.
at
face.
face.
They're trying to
Yes.
unlock their phone. It's like
We knew that beforehand.
you already had it done.
Yes.
You already had it done.
Okay, I'm going to do another theme called Men's Club.
I think I like this.
I've been there.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, Marsha and Stan share so many stories, so we're making it a little bit more thematic rather than rehashing the same
Do I have
stories
to open
that you
this?
guys.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
Okay.
for you.
You got it.
Stan.
You got
That's
it.
what it's there for.
Okay.
So when I say Men's Club, we're envisioning one of the most progressive shows, one of the gayest shows on TV. But let's go back to the early 80s. We're talking AIDS epidemic. We're talking gay? No. So Men's Club, I'm going to start with you, Stan.
I-
Talk about the homophobic culture on one of TV's gayest shows. Talk about...
Yeah, well, I've told the story many times, probably 11 times on your show.
But it fits with Men's Club. Because
But-
we're going to shift what Men's Club means to Marsha,
Yes, but I
too,
remember
so-
being on the set. It may have been I think the first day we were on the show, but we came down to the run through, and Estelle Getty was there, and we had seen her in Torch Song Trilogy, and we're like, oh my God, we loved you in that play. And she was like,
Yeah.
come here. And she pulled us around the set so nobody else would hear. And she said, your secret is safe with me.
Yep. It was good for
And-
her.
Good for her, but she didn't know us.
was.
And so I had thought she meant that we're Jewish, but she had meant she knew we were gay. I'm like, oh, that. Okay. Yes.
Hilarious.
That's so
But I always wondered, like,
No, stupid,
he's
gay.
gay. And that's how we just bonded. But I
Yeah.
always like wondered, like, did she ever tell B, like, oh, you know, those faggots, the writers over there, the two gay guys.
Baguettes.
I'm sure B knew.
I get a feeling that they
But-
weren't really chattering behind the scenes.
Yeah, I'm getting that impression.
that true?
They really didn't talk a lot.
Yeah, I don't
No?
think so.
Yeah.
But I would love for B.
I'm sure Betty White wanted to.
I mean, B was such a supporter of the gay community. I would love to have, like,
Yeah.
what she would have thought
Even
of
after
having
she's
two
passed,
gay.
her money has gone
Yes,
towards
to have
Yes,
two gay
that's
writers
right.
there.
That's
Like,
right.
did she know? Did she? I mean, there was so much happening. It was happening so fast there. It was like there was always stuff, and then suddenly we were like, write this because you're doing this, like you're the thing for the bonds or whatever we were.
Yeah,
Or they were
savings
meeting
bonds.
the queen or something. Like I think we helped with some
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
video they had to make or something.
Yeah. The
They appeared for the Queen on stage.
but something
yeah,
we were.
I was not there for
yeah.
that, but yeah, all the government stuff I did was with sitcoms or well-known whatevers. You know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the Bureau of Land Management as an example. You know, yeah. So they would do. So Golden Girls did one. It's like 8 to 10 minutes, never seen on the air, but seen by over 10 to 12 million people. You know, to promote whatever they were promoting.
Do you remember where season 1 Rap Party was? Because I just remember being in this big, like, Beverly Hills or some, like, home. Like, was that a house? It feels like we rent. You don't remember?
The only thing I remember one year was a combined rap party for shows that they had. And Paul Witt walked into this room filled with people, stood next to me, and he said, "Who are all these people?" And I looked at him and I said, "These are the people who work really hard to make you really rich."
Wow.
And you remember Jeff Goodman.
He was my guy.
So he became very good friends with my writing partner, Jim Berg. I may be great to talk about him for a second.
Yeah. Well, Jim was
Jeff.
Jeff was my secretary, basically. I loved him. We worked on different shows together, and then he died of AIDS. And there's a Jeff Goodman Foundation place here in
A
Hollywood
building,
somewhere.
yeah, which,
Yeah.
which is great in West Hollywood.
Yeah.
I
But
bet
that
you
was-
treated your secretary as well, too.
Yeah.
'Cause,
Although
yeah,
they were
wrong with
always
that.
upset because they couldn't type as fast as me.
Well, we could.
I can just imagine like,
Yeah.
I'm producing this, I have to edit this later.
Yeah.
I don't want to get an email from you because it's probably like, these are my notes from today's podcast.
No, I don't do that. I don't do that.
But you gave notes on the scripts, right? Or were they
No.
not act like what the timing, like what to cut? You looked at the cuts of the script.
Well, I would
and
always look at the rough cuts,
And
and
then
I would
suggest-
give my 2 cents. And if they listen, they listen. If they don't, they don't. You know, it was Paul and Tony. It was
Yes, we know
their
that,
opinion
yeah.
came first.
And that was very intimidating in the room.
Yeah, but
I
you
mean,
know,
it was very scary to be in a room with those two icons, to have watched like soap, and then suddenly I was in the room with
I
the
have
soap
stories.
people.
I have
Uh-oh.
stories. Okay, go ahead.
I know, but I want you to touch
You gotta
on
write it all down.
I know, right?
the reality is you're writing on this gay show that dealt with HIV, AIDS issues, had a
Well,
trans
we never
character.
thought of it as a gay show.
No.
But
At the time,
the
of
coming
course not.
out,
But and then talk about like you felt like you had to like burn your clothes or something if you bought them at a thrift store.
I
Like,
remember being
this was what
in
you're
the
doing
writer's
with.
room, and you just are ending up in between writing scenes, just bullshitting, and they're like, "What did you do this weekend?" And I said, Jim and I were sharing a little section of a house in Silver Lake, and we said, "Oh, there was a yard sale, and we like bought a bunch of sweaters." I remember everybody in the room went like, you got to go home and burn them. There was a yard sale because it's Silver Lake, which was a gay area, and those guys, whoever
Who said
it was,
that to you?
all the writers. You know who was in the room. And they said, like, they probably could have AIDS, and you could get that from
A sweater.
a sweater.
Oh my God.
But remember the first days of COVID, we were like wiping down bags from the store. We didn't know.
That's true.
So I like to give them some grace.
No.
But that was the environment. So imagine going to work and you're going, and we went home and I'm like, I'm not burning them, but I threw them away.
Burn.
But I fed it like a fire.
You
Like
could have
Jews
you
don't
could
like
have
fires,
worn it,
you know.
and you could have worn a sweater and said it wasn't this one.
Yeah, but
I
still, even
would-
having
they
that
scared
fear.
me. Like I was a young kid, so imagine you having people that had worked in the business, and
Telling
they
you
were
to do
like
it,
telling you go like, okay, I'm going to
Yeah,
do it, and
yeah.
I went home and did it.
And this is the environment that season 1 was written in.
I know, which is people find so crazy,
Yeah.
and still not saying that I was gay and I was part of that community.
Just real fast, back to your Rose's mother episode. Can you talk about behind the scenes what happened when it was actually filming? B. Arthur was going through something.
Well, you'll know more
What?
about that.
What happened?
So B. Arthur's mother died that week,
Oh,
and
that's not
they,
good.
No, and so they
Marsha
talked.
was
No,
She was just like,
whatever. I talked to her.
and they
Yeah.
talked. They talked about canceling the taping, and supposedly B said because she came from the theater, the show must go on, and she said, "I'm not putting all those people out of work. We're going to film that episode." But then when you watch the episode, and it's all about mothers and daughters, and that scene that we wrote of Estelle saying to B, "You treat me like a human, not like a child." It's so, even to this day, very difficult for me to watch because you get those.
There is that moment.
That-
and
yeah.
Estelle Getty was afraid of death the whole time.
Yeah,
too.
but B and they can't look at each other because it's so emotional for
of
that
course.
moment.
Yeah. All right, Man's Club. Marsha,
that.
from your point of view,
I want to join.
you had earned your place
She's
as
like,
a
it's the
producer.
woman's club.
You had earned
No.
your place as a producer from typing. You're a producer on the show. What was your interpretation of working on this show as a woman? Was it a man's club?
Well, this business is a men's club.
Still
but,
to this day.
Yeah, but I am my own person, and I have a mouth on me, but I use it selectively, right? So, I mean, I've been asked, have I ever been a victim of the Me Too movement, right?
Yeah.
And my answer is always, I've never been a victim of anything in my life, but have I experienced that? Yes. The difference is,
That's a really...
Good
the
to
difference is,
That's a really
I handle it different than anybody else would handle it because of my sense of humor and my ability to call things up very quickly when I need to, most of the time. So when I haven't, and I've gone through 3 or 4 of them, pretty significant, I must say.
Is that like a coping for you? A coping mechanism like the humor?
I don't need to cope with it because my attitude is, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen because this guy will always know to this day that I know what he did,
Yeah.
right? And he will always know that as much as the first one, and I'll tell you the story if you want to hear it, where I'm in an audio session and I have a sound mixer and a laugh guy. And I was killing myself this year because instead of doing one show, I was doing 2 shows simultaneously. I did 52 episodes in one season and it almost killed me. Okay, so I say that because I had a lot on my mind. So we finish Act 1 and I say, take a break. So the 2 of them get up and they leave the room and I'm just sitting there. I have so much on my mind, right? Never heard someone come in the room, never felt a presence behind me. But all of a sudden, my body gets pushed like this because somebody's put their penis in my back, right? Now, 99.9% of women would have whipped around knowing because it was obvious what it was and had something to say, right? Maybe hit the guy, but that wasn't me. Instead, what I did was, without moving my body a nano inch, but in a really loud voice, I said, wow, that feels like a cock, only smaller.
I don't know why I laughed at that.
Yeah.
Because it's fucking hilarious.
And there's power in humor.
Right.
Right.
You
So
just- you
what
just-
I
you
did
just
was
diminish it
I
in 2
reduced him
seconds.
to the size of a blood clot in 2 seconds. Okay? And to this day, as I said, he will always know that I know what he did.
And you had the upper
And how
hand.
small
You
it
took
was.
power.
And I took charge.
Yeah.
I took charge.
You used humor as power.
But on Golden Girls, like we had Susan Harris created it. We had Kathy Spears, one of the big exec producers on it. We had Winnie Hervey, a black woman writer. That was very rare because I've been on staffs where it's all white, straight men.
Yeah. Yes.
So did you know at that time that was unusual?
No.
No.
I was doing my job, and I loved doing my job, and I loved being around everybody, with exception. A few exceptions.
That being one of them.
But that's in every business, right? You love and you don't love, whatever.
I mean, it
But-
shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be, but it is. And it's, listen, people treat you how they treat you, and it is what it is. So it's our attitude that makes the difference.
But was
right?
soap that diverse, or?
Well, soap, the writing staff came and went a lot. There was, and of course, the first season, Susan wrote almost every episode herself, which was joyful.
How amazing is that this all comes from one woman, all of this?
Yeah. I mean, it was
But
extraordinary.
the first season of Golden Girls, she was never in the room.
No, she wrote like 4 episodes.
But she was never in the room.
Right, no, she
because
didn't even
had
have an office there.
She had Epstein-Barr, was what we were told. So she just wasn't there.
Yeah, but look at how the show thrived and survived,
yes.
because she was able to kick it off, and everyone,
Extraordinary way.
Extraordinary way, right? She's amazing, 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 amazing writer. Yeah.
We have so much
You're
more that we need to get
exhausted,
through.
right?
I just
You have a Grammy party to
I only
go
just
to.
started.
No, it's not even that, but I want to be respectful of your time, but there's literally...
Keep going.
I know.
You did not.
Keep going.
No, 100%.
We can come back, yeah.
I'm-
No,
Yeah,
I'm not ending it.
we'll have to do a part
Xavier,
2.
can we go over just a little bit?
Okay, good. Yay. Yay.
But for the fans, because we talk about themes, which I think is so important.
I wish we could have
You guys
call-in
talk about
questions,
your stories. I don't know.
used to do that.
What are some of the Golden Girls myths you just want to debunk, and you're like, no, you get asked this all the time. One of them is there's a lady that laughs like a hyena in all of the episodes. She's like in the back, ah! And so the lore is that it's Susan Harris laughing at her own stuff.
She was
and you
never
said me right
there.
because she was never there.
No.
If you listen,
no.
there's somebody in the audience that's always
No. But
laughing
that's
outside
not
of
fake
it.
laugh.
Let me go take. Let's
Now,
get back to bed.
in the
Those
show,
you recorded.
yes, in the show I Love Lucy, that is true. There was one laugh that was very distinctive in the audience.
But in Golden Girls, it's there too.
But you recorded the actual laughs, and then that has been used.
Yes.
But people
But it's the
say
same woman
it's fake
episode after
laugh,
episode.
but it is real
You think
people
it's
laughing.
Like stock
She's like
can-
out-
stock canned laughter that they just added in.
No, it's very natural. It's
By the way,
different.
did you know that Lucy came to an episode?
Lucille Ball came to an episode of Golden
Mm-hmm.
Girls?
Yes, and our lighting director, Alan Walker, the amazing Alan Walker, will tell you that he said to me one day about 5-6 years ago, he said, you gave me the greatest moment in my career. I said, what'd I do? He said, we were doing the Golden Girls and we were getting ready to shoot a show, and you came up to the lighting booth, grabbed me by the arm and said, you've got to come with me right now. And I said, wait, we're about to start. I said, we're not going to start. Just come with me right now. And you dragged me onto the stage, walked me to the audience, and in the front row was sitting Lucille Ball. And I said, Lucy, this is Alan. Alan, this is Lucy.
Insane.
And they were like, would Head make this better?
And no. And I said, Alan, Lucy wanted to meet the man that makes these women look so great.
Oh.
Because who else had a better eye for everything from camera angles to
Yeah.
lighting?
She-
with
no, she
Lucille
did.
Ball.
But that's
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
we liked
Wow.
each other. She cared about other people, and
Yeah.
you could feel
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so that
That's
was,
amazing.
And by the way, my husband took the most amazing pictures of those women. He was their photographer.
I think
and
we need
he
to see
just-
them.
And
Yeah.
he
Marsha, you don't share a lot of Golden Girls pictures on your social media. Well, you don't
No.
have
You do.
social media,
No,
really. But
no,
Right.
no.
the fact that Lucille Ball sat there, what did she have to say about the show?
It's funny because I would talk about going to the Playboy Mansion before I would talk about the other stuff.
That's so
Remember you
funny.
said I don't go to the Playboy. They
I did
offered to
go
bring
for
you.
Sandra Bernhard.
You
was
did?
it. So I'm friends with her, and she was in the magazine, and she had a party, and she
Oh,
invited me.
nice.
So I did get to.
Oh.
I eventually got to go.
Okay.
But there's a big myth, and I've gone online. So what?
Wait. I want to know what Lucille
okay.
Ball had to say about the show.
Oh, well,
Why
she
am I
was
not
such a
in it?
huge fan of
Yeah.
the show. I mean, she, I just saw her for that moment, and then I had to go.
Why
do
didn't
it
she
again.
guest star?
That's an interesting question.
I can't answer. They may have asked her. Cher was supposed to be a guest star.
And how
and
did
it
it get
just
to like
didn't work
Burt
out.
Reynolds? Like, did they?
Yeah, just lucky. That was
Julio
the
Iglesias.
greatest.
Yeah, there were a lot of-
There was a lot of
Yeah.
great.
I missed a lot
Bob
of
Hope. Remember the Bob
Yeah.
Hope episode?
And Peter
Yeah.
Graves. was my hero from the original Mission Impossible,
Yeah.
which was, it was great.
Okay, some of the myths. Another myth is that B. Arthur carved that question mark that's in the front door.
You would know that.
I don't know that.
Oh.
I don't know that.
But one of the big ones is that they ad-libbed.
Yeah,
no.
that's a big myth.
I'll go online into
Yes.
like the Facebook, like
Yes.
Golden Girl group,
Yep.
and that scene with the shrimp or something.
I know.
No, it's
You know
the,
the-
it's the fish that gets out of the cannon.
Yeah, and
They
then,
just have finished grocery shopping, they get along.
Yeah, and they say the greatest improv ever. And I actually went to saw it in one of the groups, and I said, sorry to burst your bubble, but I produced that episode.
I've done that too, and I
Yeah.
said like that's not
These
true.
women
People
did
go
not
like,
ad-lib.
how the hell do you know? And then people go like, no, he was on the show. It's like in season 1 they
Yes.
said every line that we
Yes.
wrote. There was
Yes.
no improvisation. Maybe later
Right.
they did, but season 1 they
No,
honored the
Not
words.
No. And of course, you remember the whole story about Elaine Stritch coming in to audition for the role. And the first thing, she walks in and says, can I change anything in the script? And Susan said, the punctuation.
Oh, and I would say not the punctuation because when I teach writing, it's like
Yeah.
I look at it as music, and
Yes,
we
it is.
fight over where's the comma, why is
Yeah,
it dot dot
it-
dot.
I agree.
Just do it once the way we wrote
Yes.
it, the way we hear it, and then maybe
Yeah.
play
But
with
how
it later.
arrogant, honestly, to say these words, I want to change what you did. How arrogant.
How humbling for Elaine Stritch, though. You know, she's a Broadway, whatever. It's like sitcom acting is totally different.
She knew that
TV
was the
world is
biggest
totally
mistake
different.
she ever
Yeah,
made.
that would.
She
She talked
openly
about it. She
admitted
did,
used
like,
to
a
admit
lot.
That would have
that.
changed her life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Which of the ladies affected you the most?
Well, B. Arthur was my favorite because she used to call me at home. She actually, I'll tell you.
And she told you she loved you.
No,
She
no,
touched your
Yeah,
hair.
you left her out in front of her
I mean,
house.
this
She
is-
didn't touch my hair.
Okay. Look, this would open up a whole can of worms, but
Uh-oh.
I'm going to say it anyway.
Say
But we won't talk about the can. But B. Arthur called. Wayne and I were having breakfast, and the phone rings, and Wayne picks it up. He goes, "Hey, B, how you doing?" "Yeah, she's right here." Marsha, B. Arthur's on the phone. "Hey, B, what's happening?" "Marsha, I just saw you on HBO last night on an episode of Real Sex." I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "You know that segment you saw is so popular, it's run like 100 times already." And she said, "I know, that was the second time I'd seen it."
Love
I
that.
was so proud.
Yeah.
I was so
like a prank
proud.
caller.
When you look back and you have this like connection with her,
She's like messing with you.
crazy is that?
That's so crazy.
Is that
Did you
hilarious?
like take in that this was B. Arthur, or was
Yes.
it like, it's B. Arthur?
Oh, no.
It was always
B. Arthur's calling me
Yeah.
to tell me that she was in bed channel surfing and going, "Oh my God,
God,
that's
it's
my
like-
I can call her right now.
Yeah.
That's my producer."
who else can say that B. Arthur? Looking back, and you know, even you said when you were first assigned to the show, you were like, I got other stuff. What would you ask her now? After all these years, after the show has affected so many generations, you're throwing back a drink. What would you ask her now?
Is that vodka you're drinking?
Do I have to drive you home?
Yeah. It's that old Rodney Dangerfield line of, "I wouldn't say she drank a lot, but a urine test came with an olive," right? So,
I had a meeting with Rodney Dangerfield. And
Oh,
let's just
lucky
say he was
you.
wearing a robe that opened,
oh no.
and
Oh.
there was
Don't get no
like,
respect.
and there, we were at a glass table.
Oh no.
I've
oh
seen
no.
it all.
Oh
We
no.
don't need to-
Enjoy your meal.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go.
You're like, you're comfortable with that robe.
Yeah.
You're comfortable with the other
Yeah.
robes.
So what
That
did
I
you
was fine with. Yeah.
what did you learn most from B. Arthur then?
First of all, she said whatever was on her mind. She was a broad. You know, she used to drive trucks in the Marines.
Yes, a lot
right?
of people don't realize that.
And she was a broad. And I remember she did a scene that was so moving, probably in the episode about the mother. And she came off set, and I said to her, "B, that was fabulous." She goes, "It was just I'm just acting." You know, I mean, she just dismissed it. And okay, but listen, actors are their own breed, right? And even if you ask them a question years later, who knows if they're telling the truth. So I just want to enjoy when I'm with them. When I had that stupid little joke book, How to Get Even with Your Ex, published, the first person I ran to was Betty White, because she had just had her book published, which Wayne shot the cover for. And I was so excited. She gave me her book, I gave her my book, and it was so wonderful. And she was so happy for me. And that was just a joyful moment. But that was then, and this is now.
Did B talk about her ex-husband? Because we talked about that in the room. About Gene
Gene
Saks, who was a
Saks.
Gene
huge
Saks, he's
Broadway director,
Right.
that she was still like, it was a lot of pain around that divorce.
Yes. Yeah, but I never talked to her about that. You know, although
weird
I
that you
would,
were very
if I'm sorry, but if I was to talk about that today with her, I would just say, just remember, B, the greatest thing about divorce is it means it's a murder that didn't happen. So it's all how you look at it. Right?
Right. Yeah.
And so we were talking about being close. You obviously were very close to
Estelle,
Getty.
yes.
What did she teach you most about the business?
I just remember like where I was sitting in my house and she would just call, and I think now like I had
She
just,
came to your birthday party, right?
she did come to my 30th
Tell that story. I
birthday
love that
party.
story.
Well, I didn't know she was going to come, and suddenly I see this little person way off, and it's like, that's Estelle Getty.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so that meant a lot that she did that. But I just remember like being where I was in my house, which is still there, and she would just call and just like give me advice. She was like a great Jewish mother. Like,
Yeah.
you should take this job, you should do this. Like, who are you seeing?
Good
And,
for her.
Yeah, and so she was just a cool person to talk to, and then invite me out to things, and so we just had this relationship. You know, after I was not on the show any longer, and
That's wonderful. That's
she
really
was just
wonderful.
a really, really good person. So that's why I'm working on writing a one-woman show about her. And,
yay!
news.
Big news.
yeah. So
I'll audition.
maybe if I talk about it, I'm
It
thinking,
said woman.
Do you have a title?
picture it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
I'm
love it.
kind of thinking
trademark
like
that real
Rhea
fast.
Perlman would be really cool to play her, but I want to set it in backstage at the show, and she comes in dressed as
Sophia.
Sophia
Yeah.
and then she takes off her makeup and becomes Estelle.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point, she was going to a lot of AIDS benefits, and at that time, actors did not go because there was a lot of stigma around it.
Yeah.
So I want her to talk about that and talk to the audience as if they want to write a book about her. But I'm thinking, like, what if it was me that she was talking to about? You should write the book and make it more personal. So that's kind of
What a
I'm
wonderful idea.
going for. Yeah,
Go for it.
and to celebrate her, and that she
Yeah.
was such a theater person, and she loved theater, and that I was lucky enough to see her in Torch Song Trilogy, and then end up writing for her.
We have to have part 2.
Okay.
We have to.
Okay.
There's so many more stories.
They say what bring was it the scotch? That's what you need.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
Next time we'll have the proper liquor for
No,
you.
I'm
Proper
good.
liquor for you.
All right, we'll talk more Golden Girls, but last question for tonight. Both of you talk to youth in entertainment a lot. You
Yes.
travel around the nation, around the globe. You were at Second City doing a little film class. What is your best advice to young people getting into the entertainment industry now? Because it's totally changed. It's
Yes,
scary
it
now.
has. Go ahead.
You go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
They're like, I don't want to answer this.
I think what I was talking about earlier, appreciate every moment where you are, because you're only going to be a newbie at that moment, and to just take it all in, because you're going to have a long journey, hopefully, with a career, and it's have a lot of ups and downs. And I'm so
Right.
glad that I looked at the audience, and then I looked at these actors, and I said, I'm so lucky to be here with them saying my words at every moment of that scary adventure. And I don't know where that came from, but I attribute it to my mother and raising me that way.
That's
and
great.
I was very lucky for that.
Yeah. I always ask kids, how many of you have parents who don't want you to get in this business? And see how many hands come up. And I say, well, I'm here to tell them to go fuck themselves, because nobody has the right to take your power away from you. So why would you do that? If this is your passion, dreams have no deadlines. Okay. If this is your passion, and I said it earlier tonight, the difference between a goal and a wish is your motivation, right? So it's up to you. If I'm to be, it's up to me, right? And know that this is a very, very difficult business. And is there a lot of nepotism? Yes. Can you do anything about it? No. So just accept it. You'll be fine. Is there loyalty in this business? A lot of it? No. Is there anything you can do about it? No. So if you accept it, you'll be fine. And I always say, you have to do whatever it takes to get your foot in the door, because that's the hardest part. And you want to keep doing those things so that eventually you can stop lying on your resume. So, no. And look, and I'm the perfect, I'm the perfect one of telling the story of going from nothing to something.
Yeah.
And if I could do it, and there were only 3 networks at the time, and no computers, no internet, no cell phones, then why can't you do it? Don't let somebody who maybe gave up on their dreams talk you out of yours ever. Don't ever give your power away. Because as I said earlier, you don't want to go through life wondering, what if? Because you can't, it's hard to live with yourself like that. Why would you do that? Why would you do that?
She's the queen.
I need Marsha in my pocket every day. I'm like, hey, I'm a little tired today, but get out there.
I was going to give you a text tomorrow.
Okay.
I feel the DMV. Like, why would you do that? Why would you do that?
Anytime.
I need that motivation.
I'm here for you.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
Okay.
Everything she says is like
Marsha.
a title biography.
I'm here for you.
Thank you.
Or a pillow.
Yeah, we have to have part 2 because we have pages
Okay.
of more
I'm free
stuff.
tomorrow.
I'm not.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, he's busy.
And I'm not free till
He was already
September.
mad that he was here today. He was
Yeah.
just like, oh, this is an
It's like,
hour.
how long? He's like, let's talk more.
I'm an eligible bachelor. Come on.
You are.
I've got
Talk
dates
about
to
it.
get to.
We're having a party in
Yeah,
West
but
Hollywood.
you have to come to the
What
mixer.
day?
Well, I'll give you all the info, but Stan will be celebrating.
I'll be Cupid.
Will you?
Oh,
Yeah.
Will you be good? Are you a good wingman?
Yeah.
I have horrible wingmans in my life.
I'm pretty
so.
good. I'm a
I'm
pretty good.
such a
feel
good
like you'd
wingman.
be a
What are you
good one.
talking about? When we're in Palm Springs, I'm like, yeah, go. He's like,
I feel like he'd be better.
no, because he'll go home with them.
How dare you?
how dare
Actually, you know that's not true.
Rude,
It's
yeah.
actually the opposite. You know that's not true. I know what it's like.
Anyway,
Take them,
good.
yeah.
Good for you.
anyway, you guys have something coming up.
We do.
We do together.
Fort Lauderdale.
Yes, March 12th. March 14th.
March 14th, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there
I'm
we go.
flying out on the 12th.
In Fort Lauderdale,
I'm flying out
yes.
on the 12th, okay.
Goldenfans.net.
Okay.
And we're very excited. It's a wonderful drag show of Golden
Tribute.
Girls.
It's a tribute.
It's a tribute show. And then we're
Yeah.
going to do a panel together.
Yes.
And I'll get
Yeah.
her to swear as much as I can. There may not be liquor involved, but I will
Yeah.
do my best.
Scotch.
We'll see about
I'll fill this with scotch and bring it.
Okay.
Oh, good idea. Thank you.
Yeah.
And we can't wait to meet the people down there. And it's going to be a
I know,
really
it's
cool
gonna be
show.
epic.
And,
It's going to be epic.
And they sell out, so get your tickets soon.
Yeah, the Broward Theater.
Yeah, the Broward Theater.
Yeah.
But Stan, your book, and where can people find and follow
The
you?
Girls from Golden to Gilmore, and
Yes.
the subtitle is Stories About All the Wonderful Women I've Worked With, and Roseanne. So
I love that.
it's really, it's a Valentine to all these wonderful women, and Marsha is one of the wonderful women I've been lucky enough to work
Roseanne.
with. Yeah.
The
And it's
walking.
available wherever you get books.
And you just Google and I'll
Yeah.
be there.
And your website is, you have a great
Zimmerman
website.
Stan.
Zimmerman Stan.
Yes.
And if you want to date him,
And
send
I'm
him an
always
email.
directing plays. I'm doing
Yeah.
2 back-to-back plays
Yeah.
in Palm Springs. I'm very excited about
Hasn't
that.
cast me
Yes,
ever,
yeah.
but okay. Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Fantastic.
Nice. Marsha, where can
What
we
I
find
do?
you? Your social media girl. Let me just do
I
your
don't do
social
it.
media.
No, okay, you can do it. I'm not a social media person. If I'm just I don't know.
So you have to stay up for part 2 then, because we have a lot more to talk about.
Yeah.
You have this huge library and all these
Yeah.
stories.
The stories are
That's
endless.
it. Are you writing any of these stories down? Like archiving them?
Everything's on all
No,
the
but it's
podcasts
so
that
empowering
I've
for
done.
young women. You need to have a presence
I know,
online.
but that-
You could
Yeah,
tell the
great.
story.
But not even just that. You
I
should just
agree
have
with you.
all these stories that you
100%.
have, but all the experiences that you have. Like, it's so interesting that you should just write this all down.
It's a great
just
way to
have
reach
it all.
young women.
I
If
know,
they can do
I'm-
it.
I'm-
Especially about how you empower
Yes.
yourself against these male
These
energies.
daily visualizations would be.
I love men.
These three faggots.
I know. Come
Write it
on.
down.
Social
Write it down.
media.
Write a book for the women. Do it. That is so funny.
Just
sorry.
aggressive
What's with us?
faggots
Yeah,
over here in the
come on.
corner. Just be like, do it! Like, God, shut us up.
And your
The
husband is so
jokes.
handsome too. And
I
so
know.
together,
I
it's just
know.
like,
He's
don't rub it
such a
in.
looker. He's such a looker. Yeah.
All right. That's all, folks. It's always a
Okay.
grab bag of funny here on the rocks.
There you
Big
go.
thank you to our engineer
Cheers.
Xavier
Cheers.
and to Straw Hut Studios.
Please like, share, and subscribe so we can continue
Share.
bringing this fabulous to bring this fabulous programming coming your way. Until next time,
Stay happy, stay healthy, stay sexy, and if you drink,
stay tipsy.
This has been another episode of On the Rocks, Tweet me and slide into my DMs on Twitter and Instagram at On The Rocks On Air. Find everything On The Rocks for free at ontherocksradioshow.com. Subscribe, like, review, and share. Until next week, stay fabulous.